Chances are, if you've ever looked into opening an investment account before, you have come across the myriad ways to invest your money, and it can all get a little bit confusing. Hey everybody, my name is Michael Carlson. I'm a certified financial planner with Carlson Wealth Advisors, and just before this video, my wife told me I needed to get a haircut and trim my beard before I made any of these videos. So to make up for that fact and distract you a little bit, I wore my craziest button-up shirt. What I want to talk to you about is all the different types of investment accounts that exist out there. And it's important to understand the differences between these types of accounts because they're going to make a big difference depending on what your goals are, depending on what your tax situation looks like, depending on what your time horizon is. Let's start with the taxable brokerage account. Okay, this can be a trust account, this can be an individually owned account, this can be a joint account. Ownership of these types of accounts can be varied. Okay, you can have one owner, you can have 5 owners, anywhere in between, more than that, all kinds of different ways you can set that up. Traditionally, for tax purposes, it's pretty straightforward. You're going to put after-tax dollars into these types of accounts, meaning you've already paid tax on that money, and any growth in the account, you're going to have capital gains taxes that you pay along the way as those taxes are realized. They may produce dividends, which you'll also have to pay taxes on in the year those are realized. I should say anytime you're selling something in an account like that, there's gonna be some kind of taxable consequence, whether it's a gain or a loss, and that's gonna be reflected in your tax return at the end of the year. Typically, you're not going to have limits on how much you can put into these accounts, how much you can take out of these accounts. Of course, that can be very different with trust accounts, but for your basic joint or individual type of account, really simple and straightforward. Next account type that I mentioned is that of the retirement account. Now, this is a very big umbrella. You've got 401ks, 403bs, 401as, 457s, IRAs, Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs, simple IRAs. I'm not listing all of them here, but there are a lot. On the traditional side of things, and we could split these into traditional and Roth, but on the traditional side of things, you are going to be limited into how much you can put into these accounts. That changes depending on which one of these things you're dealing with, and there are going to be restrictions on when you can take the money out of those accounts, but they do get some nice special tax treatment. Any dollars that you put into these types of accounts, in most situations, you're going to get a current year tax benefit for that. In most cases, it's going to be like you didn't receive that money as income for that year, so it's going to lower your tax bill a little bit, again, in the current year, the year of the contribution. That money typically can't be touched, there are exceptions, until you are age 59 and a half, at which point anything you take out of those accounts is going to be taxed at regular income tax rates. The other kind of subcategory of the retirement plan side of things is that of the Roth account. Essentially, for tax purposes anyway, are going to be the opposite of a traditional. Anything that you put into those accounts, you've already paid the taxes on. And then that money can grow tax-free for the rest of your life. Any money that you take out of that account is going to be tax-free as well. There are limits and rules on how much you can put in, when you can put it in, when you can take it out, those types of things. We won't get into all those at this point. The last big category that I want to cover here is your education types account. This is going to include education savings accounts. This is going to include 5 to 9 plans. There are other accounts that we might recommend for people to help save for their kids in the future, like UGMA or UTMA accounts. But when you look at just accounts that have specific benefits for education purposes, most popular by far is the 5 to 9 account, and then you've also got a couple other types as well. With these types of accounts, typically money that you put in there is after tax, and it's going to grow on a tax-deferred basis, meaning you're not paying taxes along the way. And then the growth on those accounts, if used for qualified education expenses, can be tax-free when you take that money out. This was a very brief rundown of kind of these main types of investment accounts you can have. Again, taxes are going to be treated differently with each one of these account types. But one thing I will say they all have in common is that depending on the provider of that or the custodian where that money is held, you can essentially have the same types of investments in all of these accounts. So it was a real quick rundown. I hope that was helpful to you out there. Again, if you've got more questions about this, would like some further clarification, feel free to reach out to the office. You can find our info in the link below this video, and have a great day.